conversation with our Indian elders. I'd like first of all to ask our guests today to introduce themselves. Tell me your name, your former occupation, where you live, and where you were born.
Uh, my name is Arnold Benedict Deane, Benedict Deane, Beachmont, Kingston. Live in Beachmont, Kingston. Born at Acres, known as Acres Hill, St. Vincent. Parents, Joseph Deane, farmer, deceased. Florence Deane, housewife, deceased. Simpress and brothers, Ulrich Deane, businessman. Sebastian Deane, shopkeeper, builder. Leonard Deane, motor mechanic, farmer. Alban Deane, farmer. Calliestus Deane, motor industry, working in the motor industry. And my sisters are Agnes Deane Douglas, nurse and seamstress. Elrita Deane Patterson, nurse. And Jean Deane, administration, living in the USA.
So tell me a bit about your aunts and uncles, those
Okay.
that you remember.
Well, aunts and uncles, I have that I know of. The uncles. Well, they are all deceased. All my aunts and uncles, they're deceased, and there's on my mother's side, there's Uncle James Hadley, Hubert Hadley, David Hadley, John Hadley. I think those are the ones that I've known.
Did you ever get to know your grandparents?
My grandparents, Joseph Hadley, and my mother's father, and Martha Hadley, living in Georgetown, okay. St. Vincent.
And what were they involved in? Was it farming, agriculture?
My grandfather works on the Orangeville estate as a vet, and my grandmother was a housewife.
Okay, and where did they originally live?
Georgetown, and between Georgetown and Orangeville.
Okay, what about some of your other elders, those who have since passed on, that you can remember? Mind sharing a few of the names with us?
For
a few of those who have passed on, your other relatives.
Okay, relatives. The relatives are the Thomas and the Bacchus. My grandfather, whose name from India, we call him Kaludeen, Khlole, Kalu, and my grandmother, Mary Deane. They were living at Acres, but first when they came to St. Vincent, my grandfather was living at Argyle and Spring Estate, Hadley Estate at Provenville.
Okay, and those relatives that you remember, Kaludeen, do you remember where he lived?
Yes,
where he lived?
Yes, he lived at Acres. I had a conversation with him, went to school, and my grandmother, they're living at Acres. That's Acres Hill, and where mostly the family settled after moving from Argyle, Provenville to there.
While you were growing up, did you ever hear stories about your foreparents from India?
Well, no, my grandfather told me, there, because about he came from India, but we never go into details. That's my grandfather. That's on my father's side, but on my mother's side, I have never. They were living in Georgetown, and in those days you don't have transport to go there, so I never have no conversation with them, until I'm grown up.
Okay, so you only got to know about these after you became a
Yeah.
man, as we
Yeah,
say
that's
now.
right. That's right.
Okay. You remember any of the outside of Kaludeen, which you mentioned, which I'm sure many of those who are viewing will be familiar with, because that's one of the important figures in those who live today in terms of the Indian descendants. Do you remember any of the other Indian names that?
Yes, Deane's has three. My grandfather, Deane, has three sisters and one brother. And one was Auntie Bunty, living in Richland Park. Her occupation was used to go around selling oil. And Hubraji Thomas, living in Calder, she runs a shop. And Pulbasi, also in Calder, married to the Thomases. So this is where we link up. And then my grandfather's brother is, well, they call him Ramdat, in Indian name, Williams. He carried the name Williams, living at Argyle, when I know him.
Okay. Tell me a bit about your memories growing up. Some of the things that you used to do, where you roamed. What was life like for you as a boy?
Well, as a boy, I was pretty, I went to school, and there I attended the Emmanuel High School, Post Emmanuel High School in St. Vincent, walking long distances from Acres to the Emmanuel High School, and then walk back, there. And then after that, I worked at Hazel's there for about 9 months, and then I went off to England at the age of 19. Taking me 18 days and 18 nights before I arrived there. And
in England?
Yeah, well, the best part of 65 years I spent in England.
And what was that like in this new environment when you just got here?
Well, when I got to England, I found there was a lot of prejudice that time. We'll get this says that we don't employ blacks, so it was open. And then I got a job on the buses, and the passenger put his money on the seat and says, I'm not touching him black. There was a bit of prejudice, but I can understand, because you see, it was just after the war, and kids will say, Mommy, there's a coffee man or chocolate man or something like that of the sort. But it never offended me in any way. But the English were very, very nice people, They were very helpful.
Okay, and you were also involved in business as well?
Yes, I started I went to England in 1958 on the 12th of April, and I started selling the West Indian products in 1959, supplying in High Wycombe, of which I bought a house after a short time in High Wycombe in 1959, where people from all nationalities, especially Vincentians, have accommodation. And if anyone was working, they will pay £1 a week. If they're not working, it is free on the house. And then we had a problem of, I was working on the buses. We had a problem that the bars serving drinks to West Indians. So I was one of the founders of the St. Vincent Association, and we had a meeting with the owners for the brewery, the Weatheritt Brewery, if I can call name, and they says you all should take over a pub. And so one man from Trinidad who was living in High Wycombe, he has a wife. He took it over, and that pub, I think, still is existed, called the Bird in Hand in High Wycombe. And so obviously, I believe I'm the only one of the founder who is alive today.
Okay, so you spent, you said 65 years.
The best part, from 1950 to 92, well, now, you see, because I still going backwards and forwards to England.
Okay, so you do still travel?
Yeah.
To the UK and back to England.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, let's go back to some of the earlier times. How would you say life has changed? You mean, when you were a boy to today, and the younger generation growing up in a
life has changed. Well, for instance, when I was a boy growing up, the roads, the transport, you see, the roads was made of cut stones and so forth, transport, and there were no government schools. There was primary schools. You know, no, there was government schools, not primary schools. Sorry, and we make the best of it. And we work the farm on the farm. My father was a farmer, and we planted our root and different crops, peanuts and different things. And the good times is when at the end of the year, when they sell the crop, and my father get a good grade in the root starch, you know, like first grade, you know, there's a celebration because we having money coming. And the good times in St. Vincent is during Christmas, because everybody is looking forward to that, and Sundays, you know, yeah.
Okay, and the things that you would like to change about life if you had a chance, what are some of the things you may have done differently if you had another chance to do so?
In St. Vincent?
In general.
In general, yes, I would like a crime rate. During my days, the crime was almost nil, because all I have known is one person who was hanged, you know, in my days. But now there's so much crime. And another thing, what I got involved in when I went to England is to import the products from St. Vincent, and I would like to see every square foot of land cultivated in St. Vincent as a staple. We have no staple crop products here, no staple products, you know, from St. Vincent, and as you can see, but we need but everything is going. So now we have the international airport. That's a plus. I think they got the benefit, because I was advised by the Prime Minister, former Prime Minister, I'm not going to say a name, and to come to St. Vincent, and I was helped by the Minister of Agriculture, and I was importing all the products from St. Vincent, and one of the founder of the shipping the breadfruit to the UK, and the ground provision, roots and fruits products. I used to import from all over the world. You know, I was an importer in that products.
Okay. In terms of anything else you would like to share about your life, your experiences, before we conclude?
Well, I'm in St. Vincent. I've been back in St. Vincent backwards and forwards since 2002. You know, there, and I mostly spend my time in St. Vincent because it is a place that I love very much, and I would like to see the people make progress, and I'd like to see the organization, the Indian Heritage Foundation. They know their roots, where they originally came from. With the organization now, and I understand it has been in existence for approximately 18 years, and I was involved in it some years ago, you know, and attend some of the meetings, so I know the procedures. I would like to see a temple, something up, you know, put up where Indians who come in to visit St. Vincent can go and say their prayer and worship. Just like the hospitals in England, if somebody passed away, there's a place that they can go and worship and burn their offerings. Another thing, restaurant. We need an Indian restaurant in St. Vincent. When I say an Indian restaurant, vegetarian restaurant, because they're mostly there. And another thing is that accommodation, security is one of the most essential things. These are the things I think you should consider, you know.
So, did you enjoy sharing the story with us here this afternoon?
Yes, I do. And
what did you enjoy about it?
Well, as a matter of fact, first, the person who called me was a cousin of mine. I've had a conversation with for a very long time, and I have known quite a few in the Heritage Foundation, and I know I feel that it is going to go forward, and so forward, and then with you coming, and we haven't boosted up a bit. I would like to see we have more Indians in St. Vincent coming, you know, to open up like such a business like restaurant and so forth. You see, this will bring in a lot, from overseas. People will want to come to St. Vincent. You see, as you know, St. Vincent is a mixed nation now. It is not Indians only we're talking about. It is mix. It is a mix, as they call it, westernized. They live in a different world. But this is good. This is good for the island, and this is what I think. That's it. That's my conclusion to it.
Okay. So let me thank you on behalf of the SVG Indian Heritage Foundation for this rich and educational conversation. And here's wishing you God richest blessings upon you, good health, strength, and that you have many more happy years. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.